From the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, this is Space Shuttle Discovery Launch Control. The countdown for the launch of Discovery on Space Shuttle mission STS-53 is continuing on schedule this morning. We're currently in the standard 2-hour built-in hold at the T-minus 3-hour mark. About 1 hour and 40 minutes remain in our hold this morning. Launch of Discovery remains on time and set to occur at 6:59 a.m. Eastern Time this morning. The window remains open until about 10:07 a.m. today. Operations at Launch Pad 39A, as well as operations here in Firing Room 1 of the Launch Control Center, continue on schedule. We expect an on-time liftoff of the Shuttle Discovery and the 5-member crew from Kennedy Space Center. On board the Shuttle Discovery is a Department of Defense payload. It is the 9th and the last DoD payload scheduled to fly on the shuttle. Also on board are 2 secondary payloads and 9 mid-deck experiments. The 5-member crew who will fly aboard Discovery today are Commander David Walker, pilot Robert Cabana, mission specialist Guy Bluford, James Voss, and Michael Clifford. The crew is scheduled to be awakened at this time, and they will soon be seated for breakfast, following which they will receive a weather briefing on today's launch conditions and begin donning their flight suits. They are scheduled to depart their crew quarters for the launch pad on time at about 3:44 a.m. Upon their arrival at the pad, the crew will then begin entry into the Shuttle Discovery. Today's launch represents the 15th flight of the Shuttle Discovery and the 52nd shuttle flight overall in NASA's Space Shuttle program. At launch, Discovery will be placed into a 200 by 200 nautical mile high circular orbit at an inclination of 57 degrees. Discovery is scheduled to land 7 days from today back here at KSC on the 3-mile-long shuttle landing facility. Earlier this morning, tanking operations commenced on time, and 500,000 gallons of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen propellants were placed into the external tank. These fuels are used by the orbiter's 3 main engines. Tanking operations went as planned. Loading of the fuels began on time at about 10:39 p.m. last night and concluded just a short while ago at about 1:35 a.m. A special team called the ICE team is currently at the pad, recently being deployed there. They are in the process of making inspections and measuring the external temperatures of the vehicle following the loading of the supercold propellants. This team spends on average about 2 hours at the pad. This is Shuttle Launch Control at T-minus 3 hours and holding. Everything continues to go well with the countdown this morning as the Kennedy Space Center launch team proceeds with plans to launch the Space Shuttle Discovery at 6:59 a.m. today. It is currently about 2:20 a.m. local time, and the 5 members of the flight crew are awake and preparing to be seated for breakfast. Live video of this event will be airing shortly on NASA Select Television. Currently at the shuttle launch pad, the ice and debris assessment team is currently working their way up the launch structure. This team of 8 was dispatched to the pad by Launch Director Bob Seek following tanking operations just a short while ago for the purpose of inspecting for abnormal ice buildups. Initial reports from the ice team indicate that the icing situation at the pad is looking good and acceptable for launch. The ICE team uses both visual aids and specialized handheld instruments. During their 2-hour stay, they also check for any debris that may be present on or near the launch structures. Debris is a potential hazard to the fragile tiles that cover the vehicle. The team assesses the integrity of the foam insulation on the external tank and looks for any signs of ice or frost buildups on the pad's support structure. They measure the temperatures on various parts of the vehicle and assess potential ice or other debris concerns that could become a safety issue during liftoff. Despite ambient temperatures in the neighborhood of about 48 degrees at the pad this morning, the supercold cryogenic fuels now stored in the huge external tank can create frost and ice, which may be hazardous. Photographic documentation of the vehicle by the team is also being conducted on the orbiter's tiles and critical interfaces. The ICE team includes representatives from KSC, the Johnson Space Center, and the NASA contractors. Greg Katnick of NASA is the team leader this morning. He is responsible for external pre-flight inspections of the entire shuttle and then for making a report to mission management team members now assembling in the firing room. Each member of the ICE team is required to wear the highly visible orange protective coveralls that are anti-static and flame resistant. Each team member is also supplied with emergency breathing units in case of an emergency. After the ICE team departs the pad, various pad cameras and infrared scanners will continue to be monitored for any ice buildups that may be present. Again, all is going well at the pad for an on-time liftoff of Discovery at 6:59 a.m. Eastern Time today. The astronauts are preparing for their breakfast, and video is expected soon. At T-minus 3 hours and holding, this is Shuttle Launch Control. And again, a video replay of our crew seated for breakfast. Seated on the end is Michael Rich Clifford, mission specialist, making his first trip into space today. Next to him is our pilot, Bob Cabana. In the center of the table, seated, is David Walker, our commander, making his third flight into space. Mission specialist Guy Bluford, making his record-tying fourth shuttle trip today. And Jim Voss, who will be making his second flight into space today. The cake displays the emblem of the STS-53 insignia. It shows the Space Shuttle Discovery rising against the backdrop of an American flag. Each of the 5 astronauts assigned for flight today have been thoroughly trained in their roles on this DoD mission. They have been working together as a team for several months in anticipation of this day. They were just awakened a few minutes after 2 o'clock this morning, and they will be on a tight timeline that is orchestrated down to the very minute. And because of this schedule, only brief times are allowed for TV cameras to capture their activities in their crew quarters. Our next view of the crew will be of them suiting in their suit-up room as they make preparations to depart for the pad on time at 3:44 a.m. this morning, and they should begin entry into the shuttle Discovery on time also at about 4 o'clock a.m. And we do have live video of the 5 crew members being suited up for launch this morning. Shown here is our commander, Dave Walker. He'll be making his third trip into space this morning, donning his flight cap, which will go on under his helmet. Pilot Bob Cabana is also seated, ready to fly this morning on his second trip into space. Mission Specialist 1, Mission Specialist 1, Guy Bluford, is making his 4th trip into space, and he will tie a record held by several astronauts for flying 4 times on the space shuttle. The 5 crew members are being assisted with their launch and entry suits by suit technicians from both KSC and the Johnson Space Center. These personnel are experts in the understanding of the details of how these suits work and how they protect the astronauts in the event of a problem during flight. Mission Specialist 3, Michael Rich Clifford, is making his first flight into space today. And Mission Specialist number 2, Jim Voss, making his second trip into space today. Presently, they are pressurizing his suit to ensure that it is without leak. These bright orange-colored suits are basically an altitude protection system. They include a helmet and a communications cap, pressure garment, and anti-exposure gloves and boots. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 2 hours, 54 minutes and counting. And our 5-member flight team has just left their crew quarters and making their way into the elevator, which will take them down 3 stories to the parked Astrovan, which will then carry them out to the pad 39A. Again, all events today and the countdown continue to proceed without technical problem. Standing by for the crew to walk out of the operations and checkout building and enter their Astrovan. And our 5 astronauts have made their way out of the building. This is a military crew. A couple of Army veterans on board, as well as Marine, Navy. Of the crew, we have Commander David Walker, pilot Bob Cabana, Mission Specialist Guy Bluford, Michael Clifford, and Jim Voss. Riding along with the crew in the Astrovan are members of the flight crew office, also a security officer and other astronauts who will be performing weather assessment functions for the launch attempt this morning. Astronaut Lauren Shriver will be piloting the shuttle training aircraft from the shuttle landing facility. This STA will be used for weather reconnaissance prior to and during launch of Discovery today. And the crew has departed, and they are now en route to launch pad 39A, where the orbiter Discovery and members of the closeout team await their arrival. Once at the pad, the crew will take the elevator up to the 195-foot level of the fixed service structure and be assisted by the closeout team into the orbiter's crew compartment. And a live shot of our flight room at pad 39A. Members of the closeout team are greeting the astronauts as they step into the closeout room for the first time this morning. The closeout room is relatively small, so it can only accommodate 1 or 2 astronauts at a time, making final preparations to enter the shuttle. Since the commander and his pilot sit in the forward section of the crew module, they normally are entered into the vehicle first for more convenience sake, but also it gives them an opportunity to begin their checklist of all the cockpit switches and the controls to make sure that everything is in proper order for launch today.
OTC, OVCC. Go ahead, OVCC. Yeah, we got to go to close the hatch. Confirm you do. Copy and work.
Picking up the count at 8:15 would put our T0 at 8:24 a.m. Eastern Time.
Help on 145, please. Copy. JRPS. JRPS copies 145. And Ops Manager, Launch Director.
Well, Bob, Mother Nature has offered us the opportunity to fly this morning. You're cleared to proceed with the launch.
Copy and thank you, sir. And Discovery, Launch Director.
Go ahead, Bob.
Okay, well, Dave, appreciate your patience, but after our traditional weather hold, it looks like we got a good clear to launch, so we'll take advantage of it. And with that, NTD, you have a go to proceed.
Copy, thank you. 10 o'clock, we'll pick up at T-9 in 3 minutes. GLS go for OAA retract.
And we are now retracting the orbiter access arm away from the crew hatch of the vehicle. This is the walkway used by the crew to gain entry into and out of the vehicle. It can be returned to position within seconds if need be. T-minus 7 minutes and counting. A final test of the flight control surfaces is now being conducted. This is a programmed pattern of movements designed to verify the readiness for launch of the engines and other flight control surfaces. We are now transferring to orbiter internal power at this time. Discovery is now running off its 3 onboard fuel cells. T-minus 3 minutes and counting. All is continuing to go well for today's launch of the Space Shuttle Discovery.
GLS go for ET-LOT pressurization.
PLT, clear caution warning memory. Verify no unexpected errors.
Roger, caution and warning is clear, no unexpected errors.
The gaseous oxygen vent hood will soon be slowly retracted away from the top of the external tank. T-minus 2 minutes and counting.
Close and lock your visors and initiate O2 flow.
The flight crew has been instructed to close their sun visors.
Closing visors, opening OT.
GLS go for ET-LH2 pressurization.
T-minus 1 minute, 45 seconds and counting. Everything continues to look good for launch this morning. And in about 90 seconds, we will see the release of nearly 7 million pounds of thrust as the Shuttle Discovery begins its 7-day flight.
1 minute, 30 seconds.
T-minus 1 minute, 15 seconds.
One minute,
T-minus 1 minute and counting. Everything is still looking good. It's a beautiful day for launch here on the east coast of Florida. T-minus 45 seconds. Coming up for a go for auto sequence start. We have a go for auto sequence start. Discovery's 4 onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. 20. T-minus 15 seconds. 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine start. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. And liftoff. Liftoff of the Space Shuttle Discovery on a 7-day mission for the Department of Defense.
Houston is now controlling. Discovery is maneuvering onto course.
Roger, roll, Discovery.
Roll maneuvers complete. Placing Discovery and crew on the proper heading. Engines at 100%. Engines are throttling back now, helping ease Discovery through the dense lower altitudes as it continues to accelerate rapidly. Engine throttles are now at 73%. Discovery is already traveling over 700 miles per hour. Re-engine at 73%.
Point.
Discovery is passing through the range of maximum dynamic pressure, and 3 engines are throttling back up.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
Roger, go at throttle up.
All engines are now running at full throttle, and all systems are performing well. Altitude is now 68,000 feet. Discovery is traveling over 1,000 miles per hour. Over the next 60 seconds, as Discovery continues to climb at a relatively steep angle, the vehicle's rate of speed will virtually triple. The solid rocket boosters, each providing up to 3 1/3 million pounds of thrust, will burn out and separate at about 2 minutes 4 seconds. Time now 1 minute 48 seconds. Altitude 114,000 feet, downrange 18 nautical miles. Booster chamber pressure is beginning to diminish. We're standing by for staging. Discovery is now flying free of the solids and under the power of its own main engines. Second stage guidance is now controlling the vehicle. Altitude 178,000 feet, downrange distance 37 nautical miles.
Discovery, performance nominal.